Hello, illustrators. We are on week 5, and we're going to cover just one chapter today, which is drawing with the pen tool. And the pen tool is one of the main tools that we use in Illustrator to create vector artwork and tweak it. And it's really a very important tool, one that you have to learn and you have to master. I can also promise you that it seems weird or difficult at first, and it only comes with practice that it becomes very intuitive. So anybody that's used the pen tool in Illustrator before will probably say the same thing. They hated it at first, but real quickly they love it. It's the most powerful tool within Illustrator. So let's get started by opening in lesson 7 in your book files. We're going to open the practice file. So we're going to practice with the pen tool, learn how it works before we jump into an actual project. From here, we're going to save this file as a different name. We're going to call it your name and then pen practice. And I'm going to save it in lesson 7. Okay. So the pen tool is our new friend. It's the third tool down. Previously, last week, we used the curvature tool, so it looks like the pen tool, but it has a curved line coming out of it right away. With the pen tool, we can draw straight lines and curved lines depending how we start the first anchor point. So let's go to artboard number 1. So get to that artboard, whether you go the lower left or in the properties panel. And you see the image above the end product. We're going to learn how to use the pen tool using this practice area right here. So zoom in a little bit so that it fills the bulk of your work area. We're going to turn off our smart guides just so they don't interfere with us right now. We don't want any of those popping up at the moment. So turn off smart guides and let's grab the pen tool. So over here in our tools, it's the third one down. Note that underneath it right now there's 2 things nested. So we're going to use the pen tool. And when you bring it onto your artboard, notice that the default behavior, like we've seen with other tools, is that if there's an asterisk next to it, that's indicating that when you click, you're going to be starting a path. It's kind of the warning that it gives you that you're ready to start. Before we do this, however, let's go over to our appearance panel in the properties, and we do not want a fill at all. So we're going to choose no fill, and then we're going to choose a black 1-point stroke. The reason we don't want to fill is because as we're drawing around, it is always filling in with that color. It's taking an imaginary line from where your last spot to the first spot. And sometimes that color fill can cover up things that we no longer can see, and that's a problem. We just want to create a path. So no fill, black 1-point stroke. All right. With the asterisk showing, we're going to click once to put down our first anchor point. And then as we move around, we see this rubber banding tool or the preview line. And it's showing us that since this was a straight or a corner point, we clicked once. We didn't, there's a way to set it as a curved line, and we did not do that. So I have to let my dog out. Wow. Sorry about that. That doesn't normally happen. Okay, back to reality. So we have our first anchor point, and we get to see a preview, which is nice. So when we click on point number 2, we have now made a straight path in between those 2 anchor points. And with the pen in this mode, it's very easy to simply keep clicking from dot to dot number, if you will, all the way through. So just click on these, make your anchor points where you see the number, and when we get down to 7, oh boy, we can't quit. It won't let go. How do we stop this nonsense? 2 options. One is simply hitting escape on your keyboard. The other is holding the command button, and it temporarily gives you the direct selection tool. And then with the command button push down, if you just click, it stops your path. So command click away to stop the rubber banding line from following you around, or hit escape on your keyboard. Okay, so if we look at the paths that we just drew, we have anchor points at the corners. If we hover over them, they get large and have a white open box. And we have paths connecting the two. Let's choose our selection tool and click on somewhere on this path. And that's going to select the path in its entirety, including all of its anchors. If we move our pointer over one of these straight lines within here, and when we do that, our cursor changes to have that little box show up underneath it, that means that we're ready to grab on and move. And we can then move this around on our artboard. It's moving the whole thing. We've selected the whole thing. All points travel together. It's one unit. Undo that move, Command Z. And just click away to deselect it. So selection tool picks whole things, not just anchor points. The direct selection tool, if we switch to that, remember that chooses smaller things. That chooses anchor points or pieces. We're going to move our pointer anywhere over the path between two anchor points. So I'm going to just go between points 2 and 3. And when I get to the path, I see a little change in my cursor. A black solid box lights up. And when we click on that, it selected the whole thing and all of the anchor points. So they've all been picked at the moment. We're going to move the cursor over anchor point 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, this one. And notice that when we get literally over the anchor point, it gets a little bit bigger and our cursor changes to have a little box below it again, an open box. Both of these things indicate that if you click, you're going to select this anchor point, which is what we want to do. So we're going to click, and now you can see that we've selected that anchor point. It is solid blue, and the rest of them are open. They're deselected. With the direct selection tool, this is the beauty of it, we can select individual anchor points and manipulate them. So if we didn't like our crown, if we wanted it to be pointier, we could pull straight up, we could twist over, we could do whatever we wanted to do. And the wire that is bent around these anchor points just grows with it. So it just extended that path and it kept the hard corner coming out of it. Click on an empty area of your artboard simply to deselect the shape of the crown. And let's move our direct selection tool over the pathway between 5 and 6. So not an anchor point, but the path itself. And when our cursor changes again to have that solid black box filled in, we're going to click to select this. Come on, there we go. We are going to now do an edit, cut. And notice it only cut that piece of the path. It knew that we had selected that path directly with the direct selection tool, and it took out that path. So you can remove line segments if you need to. The nice thing is we can rejoin them as needed. So with our pen tool, go back to the pen tool and bring your cursor over into the work area. Again, whenever you see an asterisk, you know that you're going to start a line. We don't really want to start a new line. We want to pick up this one where we left off. So if we hover over this anchor point that we just cut the path in between it, our cursor changes to have a diagonal line. That indicates that at this point, when you click, you're going to continue drawing from this anchor point. So we are going to click. And then we're going to see, we could draw all over. We could do a couple more crown points if we wanted to. But when we get back to this open path, we see a different icon show up next to our cursor. This icon is the merge symbol, and that knows that when you click that, it's going to merge those lines together as one again. So click that, and that rebuilt your path. So a backslash means you want to pick up and keep working from that point, and when you get the closed the merge symbol, that means you're going to connect them. So click away to deselect, and of course I'm using the pen tool, so it also thinks I want to start up again, which is not true, so I'm just going to hit escape. And of course it's waiting for us to do something, but at this point we're done. So let's do a file, save as, and that is our pen tool through page 190.